At the beginning of the story, a dead body is shown hanging from a tree behind a river in a deserted area. It was the year 1830. In the next scene, we see the main character of the movie, Augustus Landor, washing his hands on the riverbank. Landor is a retired policeman who, after retirement, lives in a small house beside the river. Then, some people from a military academy come to meet him. Actually, the dead body shown at the beginning belonged to a student from that academy, and they wanted Landor to investigate the case. Landor had solved many complicated cases in his time, earning great respect from city officials. Because of this, the captain of the academy personally came to his house to bring him in. After reaching the academy's office, the captain praises Landor, saying that even the governor himself wanted him for this case. But despite his brilliant past, Landor had faced deep sorrow in recent years. His wife had died 3 years ago, and his daughter had run away. The loneliness broke him. He started drinking heavily and lost himself to alcohol. The colonel already knew about his struggles and felt uneasy about giving him this responsibility. But putting his pain aside, Landor asks for details. The colonel tells him that a cadet named Fry had committed suicide the previous night, or so it seemed. The real horror? When Fry's body was brought to the hospital, someone had cut open his chest and removed his heart. At the hospital, Dr. Markey explains that the heart was removed cleanly by someone with anatomical skill. Landor asks if only a surgeon could do it. The doctor replies that anyone with proper knowledge of the human body could. Landor then visits the tree where Fry was found hanging. The soldier who discovered the body says he heard a scream, followed the sound, and found Fry hanging, but his feet were still touching the ground. That tiny detail told Landor everything. This wasn't suicide. Back at the hospital, Landor finds a deep wound on the back of Fry's head and scratches on his hands, clear signs he struggled while being hanged. Inside Fry's clenched fist, Landor finds a piece of paper with strange letters written on it, a potential clue. The captain then warns Landor to keep this case completely secret. The Academy's reputation must not be stained. And one more rule, no drinking until the case is solved. Landor returns to the crime scene to search for clues. There, a young cadet named Edgar approaches him, poetic, eccentric, and curious. Edgar tells Landor he's been investigating the case too, and he believes the killer is a poet. Then, he disappears. Later, at a bar, the bartender Patty, Landor's old friend, says she knew Fry personally. When Landor asks how she found out about Fry's death, she points toward a familiar face, Edgar, sitting alone. When Landor questions him, Edgar drunkenly explains that only a poet could dream of stealing someone's heart, because only a poet could love and hate so deeply. Before leaving, he casually mentions that Fry had fought with his roommate recently. The next day, Landor questions Fry's roommate, who says the fight wasn't serious. He was just trying to guide Fry away from bad company. But Fry never told him who those friends were. Then, another cadet named Stoddard says Fry had sneaked out the night he died, claiming he had some important work. While speaking, Stoddard's face turns pale. Landor notices, but says nothing. Soon after, the captain receives news that the hearts of a cow and a goat were taken the previous night. He immediately declares a lockdown in the academy, but Landor and Edgar secretly meet outside anyway. Landor asks Edgar for help, handing him the torn letter found in Fry's hand. That night, Edgar visits Landor's cabin. He has cracked part of the letter. It was written by the killer himself, luring Fry out under the pretense of important work. This means Fry knew his killer and trusted them. Working together, Landor and Edgar conclude that the person who sent the letter might be a woman, because a young man would only risk sneaking out that late for a woman. Then Edgar reveals something strange. His dead mother still talks to him, reciting poems that he writes down every night. One morning, after writing a poem about a sad girl who committed a crime, Edgar saw that exact girl outside his window. He believes she might be connected to this case. Landor finds it hard to believe and suspects Edgar might be losing his mind. Later, Landor asks Patty about Edgar. She says Edgar is a lonely soul, holding on to his mother's memory to survive. Landor feels sympathy for him. Days later, while thinking at the hospital, Landor wonders, why would someone want to keep another person's heart? Then it hits him. Black magic. He writes a letter to Edgar and calls him to an abandoned house. Inside, Landor finds symbols and evidence of dark rituals, demonic markings confirming his suspicion. Together, they visit Landor's scholar friend, who confirms it. He shows them an old witch hunter's book. One ritual to please the devil requires the heart of a hanged man. He also tells them about Henry Clare, a witch hunter, who claimed to know a ritual for immortality, but his book vanished long ago. Landor then sends Edgar to blend in with the cadets and find who among them knows black magic. Soon, Edgar discovers that the doctor's son, Artemis, is deeply involved. Edgar befriends Artemis, who invites him to a private party. At the party, Edgar learns that Artemis and his friend Bellinger were close to Fry, and that Fry was in love with Artemis's sister Leah, who betrayed him. Meanwhile, Landor has a haunting vision of his lost daughter crying, which leaves him shattered. At Fry's funeral, Fry's mother gives Landor her son's diary, everything written in secret code. Landor begins decoding it. Meanwhile, Edgar finally meets Leah face to face, the same girl from his poem. He intends to investigate her, but instead falls in love. Suddenly, Leah collapses into an epileptic fit, terrifying him, but she soon recovers. One night, as Edgar walks back to the academy, he senses someone following him. It's Bellinger, furious, warning him to stay away from Leah. Landor arrives and beats Bellinger away. The next morning, news breaks. Bellinger has been found hanged, heart removed, just like Fry. But the doctor notices differences. The wounds are different, and this time, the killer also made Bellinger impotent. The colonel loses patience and blames Landor for failing. The captain begins to suspect Edgar. After all, he publicly threatened Bellinger. Landor defends him, but when he learns Edgar once fought Fry too, he's shaken. Still, he believes Edgar is innocent. That night, Dr. Marquis hosts a dinner in memory of Bellinger. During the meal, Artemis insults Landor, suspecting he searched his room. Leah and her mother leave in anger. The doctor apologizes, and as he prepares a drink, Landor notices an occult book on the shelf, the same type used in rituals. He asks about Leah's illness, and the doctor admits she suffers from a terrifying condition that leaves her in constant fear. Landor excuses himself, sneaks into Artemis's room, and finds a coat without a rank badge, just like the one described by the soldier earlier. Now, the puzzle starts to connect. The next day, Stoddard also goes missing. Landor concludes he fled in fear after his friends' deaths. All clues now point to the doctor's family, but Landor still lacks proof. Soon he visits his scholar friend again, who shows him a portrait of Henry L. Cleric, the author of the Immortality Ritual. Landor realizes he's seen this exact portrait at the doctor's house. He confronts Dr. Marquis, who finally breaks down and confesses. His daughter Leah is dying, with only 3 months left. She claimed her ancestor, Henry Cleric, revealed a ritual that could grant immortality. And after performing it, she began to recover. So the whole family joined her in the dark rites. While the doctor confesses, Leah, her mother, and Artemis are already in the middle of another ritual. An unconscious Edgar lies on the altar. Leah places Fry's heart before the fire, marks her forehead with Edgar's blood, and begins chanting. Landor rushes to the scene as the fire rises. Edgar wakes, realizing Leah plans to kill him. But his love for her is so pure, he's willing to die if it means saving her. Before she can cut his heart, Landor bursts in. Chaos erupts. A candle tips over. The entire house catches fire. Landor fights Artemis as the flames spread. A burning beam crashes down on Leah. Artemis rushes to save her, but the structure collapses. Landor barely manages to carry Edgar out alive. Leah and Artemis burn to ashes. Days later, Edgar wakes up in the Academy Hospital. The doctor resigns. The captain and colonel thank Landor for solving the mystery and apologize for ever doubting him. But the story isn't over. A few days later, Edgar visits Landor, furious. He's discovered Landor's secret. The handwriting from Landor's note matches the one found in Fry's hand, meaning Landor himself lured Fry to his death. Edgar investigates further and learns from Paddy that 3 cadets from the academy raped Landor's daughter, leading her to take her own life. Landor reveals everything. His daughter didn't run away. She jumped off a mountain. Fry was one of the culprits. Landor lured him out, knocked him unconscious, and hanged him. He demanded the names of the other 2, but Fry refused. Before Landor could finish, he heard footsteps and fled. That same night, the doctor's ritualists removed Fry's heart, perfectly covering Landor's crime. Later, when he was chosen to investigate the murder, Landor used the case to his advantage. He framed the black magic angle himself, even killed Bellinger, and took his heart to make it look ritualistic. Bellinger revealed the 3rd name, Stoddard, but he escaped. Landor says he couldn't bring himself to kill again. He only hoped Stoddard would live the rest of his life drowning in guilt. Edgar, broken over Leah's death, takes Landor's letters to the colonel, but then stops. He realizes no punishment could ever match what those cadets did to Landor's daughter. So, Edgar burns the evidence. Landor, now truly alone, walks to the top of the mountain where his daughter died and stands at the edge, ready to reunite with his family. If you were completely lost in this story, hit subscribe so we can keep bringing you more cinematic breakdowns just like this. Thanks for watching.